much harder than hating out the graveyard. A lot of people really, really hate the graveyard. You already have Dredge as a deck that some players refuse to lose to. You know, you can go into a tournament in Legacy and someone, you know, they're at their local store, they're at their local tournaments, and they lose to let's say, John, who always plays Dredge, and they say, I will never lose to Dredge again. I mean, if you talk to Dredge players, they have played against that 4 ley line plus other stuff.
Right, and you know, there are always people at the tournament, like you said, they hate losing to it, they always pack the hate. Darwin, for example, 4 ley line of the Void.
Yeah, he's got the 4 ley lines.
Yeah. Now, who do you like in this matchup?
Well, I met Darwin a long time ago, so I like Darwin.
Okay. Who do you think is favored in this matchup?
Yes, I understand what you're asking. You know, I have not seen this play out. I do think Thoughtseize is going to be a big part of how this matchup plays. And Reid Duke is the person with Thoughtseize.
Yep. So Reid Duke was the higher seed in the Swiss. He was on the play. He goes Underground Sea Go, Darwin, Volcanic.
I think it's worth claiming that Swiss seeding will have a dramatic influence on how this matchup might play out.
Right.
Spell Pierce from Darwin Kastle.
Now, I think that this Entomb isn't very important to Reid Duke because otherwise he would have played it during his main phase. We already saw him aggressively play some main phase spells, fetch main phase. So I have to think that he has another Exhume, or another Entomb, rather.
Our unofficial reporter, Rada tells me that this is not just one repeat matchup from earlier today. This is 2 repeat matchups. We saw earlier today Kastle and Hartwell play under the cameras, and they're in a rematch now. Darwin and Reid Duke, they also played earlier today, and Reid Duke was Darwin Kastle's only loss in the Swiss.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Thank you to Rada for that.
So Brainstorm from Reid, followed by a fetch land. And yep, as I predicted, another Entomb here. We'll see what he goes to grab.
I would predict a Gristlebrand.
I have to imagine. Blazing Archon doesn't do it. Emrakul has flying. Gristlebrand has flying. Angel of Despair, nope. Sphinx of the Steel Wind, nope. Gonna be the Gristlebrand.
For those of you who are just joining us, this is the semifinal match between Hall of Famer Darwin Kastle and newcomer Reid Duke. Reid Duke has made quite a name for himself in the last year or 2. Is it 2 years now, perhaps?
Probably 2 by now.
Yeah, time passes so quickly in Magic. What set was out?
Oh boy. Zendikar?
I think you're right.
Oh wow.
Blazing Archon.
Blazing Archon.
Interesting.
Well,
Blazing Archon does have...
card?
Actually, here's one thing that Reid Duke can do with Blazing Archon. Game 1, Reid Duke might notice this. If a Blazing Archon comes into play, Darwin has no way to win.
Right, you know, and I misread that the first time. I mixed the 2 abilities up. It has flying and creatures can attack you. I was thinking creatures without flying.
Ah, you thought it was
attack
Moat. You thought it was Moat.
I did.
No, it's much better than Moat. It's don't attack.
Oh, wow. In that case, Reid Duke might just be able to automatically win this game.
I mean, essentially, what that card says in this matchup is it's a much, much better version of Battle of Wits.
Right.
You just get this into play, game over.
So Darwin, in the middle of resolving this ponder here, trying to decide what his best game plan is, how he's going to beat this Blazing Archon.
After sideboard, he can Echoing Truth it.
Yep. That's it, though. Now, a few people point out on Twitter, Steve Garham among them, that when the Sphinx of the Steel Wind was first spoiled, it was called Mechroma. There's a play on words to Achroma because it's so similar. Suppose that falls under the category of fun fact. So Ponder finishing up for Darwin and still deciding whether or not he wants to shuffle. Looks like he'll draw.
And people line up behind their various players they want to root for. Jerry T cheering on Reid Duke.
Probably not much love for Darwin on Twitter. I'm not sure that the players from '94 are on Twitter yet. We'll see, though.
I think, some of us learned about my face at some point or other.
Okay. So, Exhume from Reid Duke.
Friend book.
That's the one. Darwin will crack Lotus Petal in response.
Lotus Petal Intuition.
Intuition in response. Okay. So, Darwin.
This means that Darwin can exhume along with Reid.
Yeah.
Now, what is that going to do, though, if there's a Blazing Archon in the mix?
Darwin might be getting Force of Will, but if he is getting Gristlebrand, I don't think he can win.
It doesn't do anything. It has to be Force of Will to stop this.
Right. Now, Darwin...
there it is. Trips Force. And Reid kindly putting 2 Force of Wills in the graveyard for Darwin.
And Darwin, no stranger to high-level Magic, knows about the graveyard order.
Yes, back when graveyard order was strictly enforced at all levels of play.
Right. Match losses for those who don't follow it.
It's true.
I know.
Someone pointed out one day that there were no cards that cared about graveyard order, and eventually that element of the game disappeared from all of the formats that didn't include cards that cared. And we see now Darwin laying a 4th land. He's got, a 4th mana with his 3rd land there, Scalding Tarn.
He has no sneak attack.
Well, it's possible he does, but then he would be tapped. I mean, we don't know fully what his hand is. He could have the sneak, but not want to do it because he wants to have the ability to cast, let's say, well, I guess he's not the one with Spell Pierces right now. He'll be next. Oh, he does have 3 Spell Pierces. Okay, I thought there was Spell Pierce.
He would probably have to have drawn it last turn, because I think we would have seen him Spell Pierce over Force. Reid Duke gonna test him again with another Exhume here.
Do you have it?
Uh-oh, indeed. Blazing Archon.
And Darwin drawing. He's got a City of Traders in hand.
And now, what Darwin can do, Darwin can get down a sneak attack and ensure that Reid can't win by just sneaking in creatures to block with. Though, that's a pretty narrow path to victory.
That's a path to victory that basically says, I'm going to Emrakul you out by having Emrakul go to the graveyard.
Right. And decking you, he says. We'll see. Yeah, he's shaking his head. They're probably talking about just that right now.
And Reid's like, wow, this will be fun to watch, I guess. Let's see if we have a 40-minute game.
Okay. Darwin packs it in.
I might have tried to go for it.
Oh, boy. Darwin probably saving our viewers at home a little pain here. Scoops them up. They'll go to the sideboards.
And in the sideboards, well, before we go with them to the sideboards, it's time for some trivia.
Yes.
Now, last round, the trivia question was about Darwin Kastle.
It was.
And Darwin Castle's Hall of Fame induction. He was inducted in that first class, and the winner of that did get 3 free months of Star City Games Premium.
Right.
Now,
the next question is going to be about something completely different. Not Darwin Kastle, but a little bit of a new school player. Now, we have one player here who has a Pro Tour top 8 to his name besides Darwin Kastle.
Well, I mean, Darwin does not have a Pro Tour top 8.
Darwin has many Pro Tour top 8s. Was that 8?
I
9?
Can't remember. It's enough. It's enough that I'm almost out of fingers. So
okay.
There we go.
Fair enough.
8.
Okay.
8.
So, who is the other player in the top 8? In this top 8 with a Pro Tour top 8. Now, the way that you qualify for this, you have to tweet the answer. The important part, though, you have to tweet with this hashtag right there.
SCG Premium. The hashtag is the important part there.
Right.
Hashtag SCG Premium.
You don't have to tweet me. You don't have to tweet Adrian. You don't have to even tweet at SCG Live. Just make sure you include SCG Premium or you won't be counted. Which player in this top 8 also has a Pro Tour top 8?
A Pro Tour top 8.
One Pro Tour top 8.
If you prefer.
Pro Tour top 8.
Yeah, that's right. And so, going back then with that to our sideboarding.
Yeah.
Reid Duke is, I think, going to bring in another Blazing Archon.
Definitely.
I think we're also going to see a definite show and tell, because he knows that Darwin has access to Leyline.
Right.
And so to get around that, show and tell is an option. I think we're going to see Echoing Truth for similar reasons. And I'm not sure if he goes past that. Those 5 cards might be what he does.
No, he could sideboard in the Pithing Needles to potentially stop sneak attacks.
Oh, that's fair too. That's very fair.
But those are his options. Now, it's a pretty tight deck list. Reid Duke has a really tough time trimming cards because every card has a purpose. Now, he can cut the Angel of Despair. He can cut the Sphinx of the Steel Wind. But other than that, all the fatties probably have to stay. In terms of his spells, I'm not so sure. All of these are so crucial to his deck. Reanimate, Exhume, Entomb, Thoughtseize, Force, Study, Daze, Brainstorm, Ponder. They're all great.
Here's a question that Reid Duke can put to himself. How likely is he going to be able to go for the fast kill? If he thinks he can actually get a fast kill off, Daze is of high value. If he doesn't think the game is going to go that quickly, Darwin has Lotus Petals. Darwin has City of Traders and Ancient Tomb. It might be worth shaving down some Dazes if he thinks the game won't be that fast.
Right. Now, I think Reid Duke might be more likely to do that on the play than on the draw.
Yeah.
On the draw, I think you just have to have Daze. Well, let's look at his sideboard again. The cards he absolutely has to have. He has to bring in Echoing Truth.
And Show and Tell. That's 4 cards.
And Show and Tell, because Darwin has 4 Leyline of the Void.
Yeah.
An absolute crusher in this matchup. Pithing Needle?
Yeah,
I'm less sure
maybe.
About. It is great against Sneak Attack, and if he gets one down, Darwin has no answer except to Echoing Truth it. But, again, what does he cut? Now, he might think that that Darwin will bring in Leyline of Sanctity, but I don't think he will. He only has Thoughtseize. Really, nothing else will do it. So it can't side up Thoughtseize. Yeah, I'm not sure. Darwin, on the other hand, like we said, 4 Leyline of the Void, 2 Echoing Truth, Pyroblasts and Red Blasts. He has 3 combined of those. So that's a total of 9 sideboard cards.
Of which he does not need to go all that way into it.
Right.
I mean, one of the things, sideboarding for a deck that's as streamlined as Sneak and Show, every card has a real purpose. And
yeah, it does. Both of these decks are really, really hard to sideboard cards out. Spell Pierce, great against Reid Duke. Misdirection is good. Check if Thoughtseize says target opponent or target player. I believe it's target player.
Thoughtseize is target player.
Okay. So he can misdirect a Thoughtseize. Misdirecting Reanimate doesn't do anything. Misdirecting a counter, of course, is huge.
Even misdirecting a Thoughtseize, though, isn't great, because that can just mean that Reid Duke says, I'll discard this Gristlebrand.
Right. Now, we might see Darwin cut down on some of his free counters, especially on the play here, just because of the Thoughtseize from Reid Duke. The fact that, going down that many cards might not be smart.
At the same time, I mean, forcing through your own Gristlebrand, I love the free counters in Darwin's deck. I think one of the things that we're going to see here, Darwin Kastle only picked up this deck for about 4 or 5 games last week, playing a pickup games with me in Ohio, and he so loved the deck, he was like, I know what I'm going to do when I get to Worcester. And he borrowed a deck, and when we were just playing for fun, essentially, in Ohio, he didn't know what a lot of the cards did, and unfortunately for us, a lot of the cards were also foreign.
Oh boy. Never a good combination.
And now here he is in the top 4. Darwin down to 6 cards, Reid staying with 7.
Yep. And if you are just joining us, I'm Zach Hall, and he's Adrian Sullivan, and we are coming to you live from Star City Games Open in Worcester, the Legacy portion. We're in the top 4 right now. Reid Duke up a game on Darwin Kastle. On the other side of the bracket, we have Matt Costa versus Josh Hartwell, both players playing Rug.
Now, both of these matches are repeats from before. And in the previous match, Duke beat Kastle, and Hartwell beat Costa.
Yeah.
Darwin contemplating these 6 cards.
Yeah, I think it's pretty interesting that that Reid actually did beat Darwin Kastle through these ley lines. Traditionally, leyline is such a tough card for the Reanimator deck to beat.
No ley line from Darwin.
Wow.
Turn 1 ponder.
So he kept pretty fast on this 6. It's probably pretty strong if it doesn't have a ley line.
I was thinking he was taking a little bit of time there. Costa, up game 1 in the other match.
And you know, like we said earlier, these ponders and these brainstorms do take a while. It's really important to sculpt the plan for your game, see how it's going to go, and what tools you need to do it.
Lotus Petal. And Darwin giving it kind of a tired there. That's what I got. Reid Duke fetches out an Underground Sea.
And we'll see what he does with it. He is shuffling his deck, so it doesn't look like it's an Entomb.
The only thing that Reid Duke would have to fear from Darwin with regards to what he searches for from mana is Emrakul coming down, and then it's the least of his problems. He's
Right.
lost everything. So, Thoughtseize from Reid Duke. Lotus Petal could protect it.
Yeah, we'll see if that's what Darwin chooses to do here. He's
All right,
already
let me see that. I think this is maybe the misdirection moment.
We've seen this before, haven't we?
Darwin making a mana. Brainstorm, just to protect his hand.
Yep.
Not exciting to lose essentially 2 cards to that Thoughtseize.
Right, you know, Darwin already on 6 cards this game has to crack a Lotus Petal just to brainstorm on his turn 1.
Yeah, on 6 cards on the play,
Right.
cracking a petal.
But none of that will matter if he can get a Gristlebrand into play.
Yeah, and then the other part of it too, casting a Brainstorm for the inferior version, no ability to shuffle. That means only 1 card at best can be taken away by that Brainstorm.
Yep. So Darwin has to decide which cards are most important here. You know, or maybe he's just looking for a misdirection.
And Reid, accustomed to waiting, he's a very good waiter. You know, we saw him waiting before, hands on head, now hands on face, just
He's a
waiting.
patient man. So
And
now,
revealing Intuition, Ponder, Land. So Darwin, with those 2 fetch lands, will be able to get rid of 1 of these brainstormed cards if he chooses.
right. Now, if you're Reid Duke, both of those cards are pretty scary, both the Ponder in conjunction with the fetch land and the Intuition just as a demonic tutor. But it really depends on what's in his hand for what he's going to take here. And Reid Duke looking pretty strong, although we don't know the 2 cards on top of Darwin's deck.
I would definitely be nervous. Well, let me put that the other way. I wouldn't feel too nervous if I were Reid Duke. I don't know what's on top of Darwin's deck. I was going to say I'd be nervous if I was Darwin, but Darwin knows what's there.
So Darwin draws for his turn. Reid did take the Ponder with that Thoughtseize, taking the cheaper, more versatile card there. Or rather, the cheaper, less awkward to play card. And Reid Duke,
Are we going to see another disruption card? Oh, just careful study.
just the lube that makes his deck work. He'd love to discard a Gristlebrand
The
here.
oil for the gears.
Yep. So Darwin Kastle holding his breath right now.
Waiting
Really?
to see what happens.
Yeah, hoping Reid Duke does not have it. It, of course, is Gristlebrand, a Black Source, and Reanimate.
I see.
boy.
Oh, that's both sides of the equation.
Yep. Reid Duke cracking a fetch land, and now if you're Darwin,
Oh,
you're starting
boy.
to get very worried here.
It's not over if a Gristlebrand comes into play. It's just basically over.
Right. Important distinction there.
Yeah.
It's like when your opponent mines desires for 8.
Yeah, I mean, it's not over.
It's not over.
But, 9 times out of 10,
Yeah.
it sure is. Pithing Needle.
And Darwin breathes a sigh of relief.
Oh, man. Wow. So Reid apparently did bring in the Needles.
Yep.
One thing that both of these decks do after sideboard is they do become a little less streamlined. So the ability to just to power out something is a little bit more taxed.
Right.
Volcanic Island from Darwin Kastle.
And we will find out what that Pithing Needle named. I have to imagine it's Sneak Attack, though.
Misty.
Wow, Misty Rainforest.
Effectively mana destruction here.
Yeah. Darwin, though, no shortage of lands. He has 3 now. 1 more mana, and he can cast anything in his deck. And with that 3rd, he has access to the Intuition in his hand.
That's right. And we might have an opportunity to see whether or not Reid kept in Dazes.
Yep. That would be one reason why he might be naming the Misty there, because he has so many Dazes that he feels like a Sneak Attack will never resolve.
If you're just joining us, we're in Game 2 of the semifinals between Hall of Famer Darwin Kastle and Reid Duke of fame for Magic the last several years here, starting with the Mox Championship not so long ago.
Oh, yeah. Top 4 in Invitational, top 8'd 1 or 2 Grand Prix, and has really just been on a tear. And it impresses everyone that watches with his play.
Brainstorm. A lot of people, this is something that I mentioned earlier today, a lot of people were watching either on the video or live the Worlds match between Conley Woods and Craig Wesco when Rich Hagan said, "Who here thinks that Conley can pull this out?" And he said, "I see 3 hands, BDM, and 2 of them are being held up by one person." That one person, Reid Duke, he really believed that Conley could pull it off. And as we know, Conley did.
So there's a fetch land for Reid.
Another Needle. This one perhaps, well, I mean, honestly,
We'll see if Darwin
I
cracks the
don't know.
Scalding Tarn.
I was going to say we'll see this one hitting the sneak, but maybe it'll hit that land.
Right, and if Darwin Kastle doesn't crack this fetch land here, I think Reid Duke can safely assume he has a good amount of lands in his hand and name Sneak Attack, because fool me once. I'm not sure how that saying goes. I'll just leave it at that.
Darwin does, in response, sacrifice, so we won't have to worry about the question.
He'll go grab a Volcanic, and that Pithing Needle this time will almost certainly be on Sneak Attack. And Reid just looking for some way to reanimate one of his creatures. And now I think the longer the game goes, the more favored Reid Duke is here, because Darwin Kastle's deck is really neutered. He has 4 Leyline of the Void in it, which he cannot cast.
And Reid already has the creatures in the yard.
Right. Also, he has 4 Gristlebrand, which, as does Reid, but he also has 4 Emrakul, and no Careful Study to discard them.
It won't, Emrakul in the hand is certainly basically dead most of the game, but it is possible if the game really drags out that we could see it hardcast. I have seen that happen before with Emrakul for Sneak and Show.
Oh boy.
Darwin is still responding to that first Needle.
Yeah, Darwin wouldn't even need any Lotus Petals to hardcast the Emrakul. He would just need almost every mana producing land.
Yep. Sneak Attack is the named card. That is unsurprising at this point.
Yep. Now, Darwin's only way to get a fatty into play is Show and Tell at this point. Assuming he can't Echoing Truth a Pithing Needle.
with only 2 Echoing Truth. Let's see what we see. Leyline, Leyline, Leyline. Huh.
Just thinning
Thinning
them
the
out
deck.
here, I guess. Darwin Kastle probably realizes that he can't thin 3 business spells out, or else he won't have enough to combo out.
You know, I actually like something more along the lines of going Intuition for Emrakul something. Then an Emrakul will shuffle, you know, your graveyard will shuffle back in, and that will mean you'll have Brainstorms and Ponders go back into your deck.
Right. Added bonus of getting an Emrakul in hand, too, in case, you know, say, if Reid goes for a show and tell, or you yourself draw a show and tell.
Sneak. Tapping out. Misty Rainforest not available to be sacrificed. Sneak attack turned off by Pithing Needle. This is, I believe, saying gates are open.
Yep. Now, Reid, of course, not going to fight over that. He'll instead fight over the Echoing Truth on the Pithing Needle.
If he doesn't just win.
Right.
You know, he could just take it right now.
Yeah, I think at this point. Oh, we
Oh,
have an
wow.
update. Matthew Costa advances to the finals. He defeats Josh Hartwell 2-0.
Yeah, we predicted that he was going to win earlier, and we were, like Costa, perhaps surprised. And Costa takes it back.
Yep. He wins the one that matters. Josh Hartwell defeated him in Swiss, but Costa wins the elimination match. Reid Duke, 3 Underground Seas, 2 Pithing Needles. Seas full at the moment.
Exhume. I think it's going to be over if this happens. I don't know that Darwin has anything to do to stop it.
Yeah, you know, also another reason why Darwin maybe shouldn't have Intuition for the ley lines is because if he still has Intuition mana up, Reid Duke can't really exhume, because then Darwin can say, okay, I'm gonna just go ahead and Intuition for at least 2 Gristlebrands.
Yeah, I think it's worth noting that this is Darwin Castle's, I believe, 11th match ever with this deck.
Right.
And only a few days ago, he didn't know what what many of the cards did.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of what helped them in this tournament was the fact that a lot of the cards played in Legacy are from when he was playing a lot more.
And Gristle. They kill each other. That's a strange... Oh, okay, I see. When we thought he Intuitioned for ley lines, is that actually he Intuitions for Gristlebrands?
Okay, we saw black cards and assumed
Yeah.
ley lines.
That was a bad call on us with the art. That is Gristlebrands that he Intuitioned for. Everything makes much more sense now.
It does.
Okay.
We should give Darwin 8-time Pro Tour top 8 a little more credit.
Echo.
Oh, boy.
Echo.
Reid Duke has to fight over this here.
If he can.
Yeah. There's a
Force the will.
We'll see if Darwin found a force or a misdirection here. Darwin low on cards, though. I believe he only has 2 or 3 in hand.
Force of will.
Wow.
Oh. Why did... Okay.
Darwin Kastle just scoops it up.
I don't know why he's scooping.
I think he might have sided out his show and tells.
Oh, my gosh.
I think that Echoing Truth was his last shot.
Yeah.
And Darwin Kastle decided he had to go for it. Didn't think he could afford to wait for another blue card for that Force of Will in his hand.
Wow.
So Reid Duke advances to the finals here. 2-0. Defeats Darwin Kastle for the 2nd time today.
Yeah, Darwin Kastle. I know he lost to Reid Duke, and he said that earlier, talking to him, that it was the only game of Magic he played today that actually felt like a real match where, and this is Darwin's words, where Darwin didn't screw up.
Wow.
Darwin gave himself a draw by messing up in round 2 of this tournament. And then he said that every other match he played, it basically felt like he steamrolled his opponent.
Wow.
And Duke, the only one that actually pushed back on him.
Yep. And back. Or this Blurred Dreadstill deck. Super, super powerful. I'll give you a rundown of the deck list real quick.
Before you go to the deck list, really quick, one other thing to mention. For those of you at home who also want to join in on winning in this top 8, you can win. We do have a giveaway that we do at the end of every game 1. In the quarterfinals, the giveaway will be, they're all via trivia questions. One lucky winner will win 3 free months of Star City Games Premium. In the semifinals, one person will get 6 free months of Star City Games Premium. And during the finals, the creme de la creme, one lucky winner of a trivia question will get a Gen Con pass for this year's Gen Con. 4 days of Gen Con fun. And I know that it's a show that you really want to go to if you like to game.
Right. And, if you don't have Twitter, that's fine. You can sign up. You don't have to have any tweets previous to this. Just make sure you have one, and then you can win.
And the game starts underway. Reid Duke opens a Underground Sea off of a fetch land, Flooded Strand.
Yep, now Reid Duke must need this black mana because he wouldn't open himself up to Wasteland if he didn't have to. Flooded Strand can't get a swamp. Rodney Hannigan only with 3 Wasteland, but it's still a threat. He'll cast Careful Study. And Reid Duke definitely needs a fast draw here. Choosing what to discard. So while Reid's thinking, I will go over Rodney's deck list here because it's a little on the unusual side. He has 12 creatures in it, 4 Dreadnought, 4 Delver, 4 Grim Lavamancer. Spells, 4 Daze, 4 Force of Will, 4 Brainstorm, 4 Stifle, 4 Standstill, 3 Spell Snare, 2 Gataxian Probe, 2 Top, and 1 Trick Bind.
He's got 5 Stifle effects.
Yeah, he does. Luckily for Reid, he's not playing any Animate Deads. 4 Reanimate, 4 Exhume.
Unluckily for Reid, he is playing, it looks like 9 fetch lands, so that does mean that there are 8 Wasteland effects that Rodney Hannigan can play against Reid. And that, in addition to the fighting against Daze, could make things kind of rough.
Yeah. How about this? Reid reanimates a Gristlebrand, dropping to something like 12 or 10 life. Rodney stifles the pay 7 trigger. So Reid Duke's land getting wastelanded. He replaces it with a fresh Underground. Rodney counters with Volcanic Island and casts a Gataxian Probe. From Reid Duke, we see Force of Will, Ponder, Daze, Brainstorm, Swamp. That's a pretty good hand. He has a lot of ways to dig. He has a piece of counter magic and a basic Swamp. Only thing he's missing is a reanimation spell right now.
For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan, and I'm here with Zach Hall. This is the first round of the top 8. Quarterfinal match here between Rodney Hannigan and Reid Duke, and they are playing to try to get the glory of winning the Star City Games Open Series Legacy event in Worcester.
Very good.
I'm trying to get this correct.
That's the closest yet. So end of turn, Reid Duke brainstorms. Interesting. Unless I saw him misdrawing a card, I think this is end of turn. So that's on the stack. Rodney's trying to decide whether to fight over this or not. And there's Reid with his trademark head scratch. Trying to put together a winning plan here. Now, who do you think the late game favors? Do you think it favors Rodney's Dreadstill or Reid's Reanimator?
I actually think it heavily favors Rodney because he's got the access to Sensei's Divining Top, and he is able to put down a Standstill and have it be meaningful.
Yeah, I think I have to agree with you. Mishra's Factory, too, in addition to that Standstill.
Wow. And we have our first word in. Robert Connolly has already won Game 1 against Darwin Kastle.
Wow. That was fast.
That was fast. I would look at a clock, but these are untimed rounds, and so the Star City Game staff here has torn down the clock.
So Reid Duke's end of turn brainstorm has resolved. Now he's casting a main phase ponder before playing this land. Shuffling his deck, did not find what he wanted. Shuffling that one card that he got to put on top of his deck with brainstorm. And now he'll draw. So I think Reid agrees with us that time is of the essence. That's why we saw that last turn brainstorm. I think he would have waited if he thought the late game favored him. Polluted Delta from Reid. Now, we're not sure of Reid's hand. When Rodney probed him, he had Force of Will, Ponder, Daze, Brainstorm, Swamp. He used Ponder, he used Brainstorm. We don't know what he put back, though. I think Swamp would be a good guess.
The last time I saw a deck like this see any real play, I believe was with Tommy Collowith. And I want to say that was Grand Prix Chicago, but I'm not 100% sure of that. Tommy Collowith, a Midwest player, a contemporary of Owen Turtenwald.
So Rodney has a brainstorm here. That was an end of turn brainstorm. He puts two back, now draws one of them. So both players going for speed here, not waiting around with their brainstorms. I would say that's almost opposite of how we've seen most players play today.
Yeah, looking back, it looks like both Tommy Collowith and Rich Shea, well known in legacy communities, were playing decks quite similar to this Dreadstill list that Rodney is playing here. Rich Shea getting a top 16 at Grand Prix Chicago. It looks like Tommy Collowith, I do believe, getting a top 8.
Rodney Hannigan plays a Wasteland, then a Grim Lavamancer, playing around Daze there. And Rodney not Wastelanding that Underground. A little tight on mana. Reid Duke main phase Brainstorm. He's digging. Both players at this point just sculpting their hand, slowly trying to figure out when they can go for it, whether their opponent can go for it, and how they're going to answer it, all building up to one or two crucial turns. And we have another update. Josh Hartwell wins game 1 over Andrew Kavanaugh.
That's rug.
Yeah, so Bolt off the top after a show and tell. So Josh peeled one to be up a game against the Sneak and Show deck.
And I would like to just do a quick correction. Tommy Collowith was not playing Dreadstill in Chicago. Sorry about that. Tommy Collowith instead playing Ad Nauseam Tendrils. Okay, back to our match at hand.
Yep, Reid Duke just shuffled away 2 cards from Brainstorm. Now has an untapped Underground.
If you're just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan, and with me in the booth, Zach Hall. You can see on the left, Rodney Hannigan with the Dreadstill deck has a Grim Lavamancer out. Reid Duke on the right with Reanimator. Reid is not in under any real pressure here, but he still doesn't want the game to drag out. Regardless of not being under pressure, Rodney's deck is the deck that can take control when it comes to a game that draws out.
So Rodney in for 1, and ooh, there it is, the standstill.
Now, Reid is not going to be happy with that standstill.
No, he has to decide if he wants to fight over this. A crucial question, and whether or not he wants to, is how many cards in Rodney's hand? By cracking that standstill, will Rodney have to discard? Reid's not going to fight, just going to untap, draw, play land. Contend to get hit for 1 a turn, while building up the tools he needs to win through the standstill.
In for uno.
Life total 17 up.
Reid, land go.
Yep.
In for uno.
And now these players just want to be making their land drops right now, especially Rodney Hannigan.
1 more damage.
Yep, Reid at 15. And those little pecks, they're not irrelevant. Those little life losses add up, especially in conjunction with Reanimate and Fetch lands.
In for 1.
13. Now, Reid is actually out of mana-producing lands that Flooded Strand can get, although Rodney might not know that. He only has 3 Swamp left in the deck for lands that produce mana.
He might not remember it.
Right.
Yeah.
Reid probably does, but I doubt Rodney does. Not the kind of thing you usually pay attention to when you see someone else's deck list. And here's a Thoughtseize.
And crack on the standstill. 3 cards for Rodney.
Ancestral Recall never felt so good. Julian Boer on Twitter points out that Rodney Hannigan, spitting image of Strong Sat on Twitter. It's Todd Anderson. Callie Anderson giving me a dirty look over there.
Callie Panderson. Look at that hand. It's pretty thick.
So let's see what this is. We have Standstill, Force of Will. Oh, okay. We're not going to get to see those. There we go. Standstill, Force of Will, Daze, Dreadnought, Spell Snare, Land, Brainstorm, Stifle. So a monster of a hand.
Another Standstill looks so mean.
And if I'm Reid Duke, I'm going to start scratching my head again because this hand is going to be tough to win through. Rodney Hannigan in an excellent position to counter anything Reid Duke plays, and then next turn, drop a Dreadnought. Reid Duke also under time constraints because if he reanimates that Gristlebrand, he'll be at 3 life, and that Lavamancer will pretty much be finishing him off.
If you're Reid Duke, what do you take here?
You know, it's really hard to tell without seeing Reid's hand. Wow, Spell Snare. Okay, so he's going to be trying to resolve an Exhume this game. That's what that means. Oh, there it is. He's going for it right now.
And Rodney's like, can I put this away?
And Reid tapping out of black mana. Doesn't want to get wastelanded.
Ooh, Darwin Kastle in the match going on as we speak has evened it up 1-1. Emrakul sneaking out and then decimating, annihilating, if you will, Robbie Conley's board.
And his life total.
I don't know if he decimated him because that's only a 10th.
So this is a Brainstorm from Rodney Hannigan. End of turn. He's going to look to put a Dreadnought, something else back, shuffle those away. Oh, I'm sorry, not end of turn. This is still with the Exhume on the stack, of course. Spoke. And Rodney's going to have to fight over this. He has no bounce spells in the deck, so once Gristlebrand gets in play, that's a problem.
Spell Snare. Found with a Brainstorm.
Yep.
Force of Will tossing Daze from Reid Duke.
And this will presumably draw the Force of Will from Rodney. Yep, here it is.
Force of Will tossing Daze from Rodney.
Yep.
Force of Will tossing Daze from Reid Duke.
Wow. So we'll see if Rodney found another Force of Will from this. Here's a Brainstorm.
He's looking.
Dig, 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 dig.
I think I just saw one.
Yep, there's that iconic orange of the Force of Will.
When the card was first printed, a lot of people felt strange that there was so much seeming fire on the card, since it's blue.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine it any other way.
I know. I love the image on Force of Will.
So Rodney will put 2 back. I think he has 1 or 2 blue spells left to pitch here.
There goes the Standstill that Rodney was holding on to.
Yep, and now Rodney left with a Dreadnought and a Stifle, I believe, as his cards.
A Dreadnought, well, he might have he probably shuffled away one of those Dreadnoughts, but yeah, a Stifle is definitely amongst the mix.
So Rodney untaps. Reid Duke only at 9 life. So he cannot reanimate the Gristlebrand. He can only exhume from this point on.
And we see the Dreadnought. We see the Stifle. We heard a huge gasp over there. I wonder what happened.
Definitely not about this match.
Yeah, I think this was about perhaps, well, could be about any of them. Matthew Costa has fans here. Darwin Kastle. And there we see a Delver also from Rodney.
Wow, makes its first appearance of the match. There it is.
We see a Jared Silva running over this direction.
Darwin 2-1. Intuition for sneak attack. For 3 sneak attacks. Sneak attack, Emrakul, empty hand.
Wow.
Shuffle up. Next turn, top deck. Sneak attack, Emrakul.
Oh, wow. So we just hear that Darwin Kastle apparently won that match against Robbie Connolly off of a sneak attack, Emrakul, empty hand, and then top deck.
Yep.
Emrakul, getcha.
So congratulations, Darwin Kastle. He moves on. A timely rip. As that happened, Rodney Hannigan defeated Reid Duke. Reid Duke scooped him up, realized he could not beat the Dreadnought.
Right.
Now, Dreadnought's a really hard card for Reid to answer. He has, no, swings the Steel Wind, doesn't have protection. Angel of Despair can kill it. But other than that, his creatures are not set up to fight a 12-12.
Now, other than the winner that we have here, we're also going to go to a winner out there potentially very shortly if you can answer a trivia question. The way that the trivia works is pretty simple. You have to answer our trivia question with this hashtag. You can see it
right down there somewhere.
There it is.
There it is. Right
SCG Premium. Hashtag SCG Premium. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that you answer our trivia question with that hashtag in your answer.
Right.
One lucky winner with the correct answer will get 3 free months of Star City Games Premium.
Exactly.
This is a thing that if you don't already have, you should be getting. But if you do have 3 free months on top of it,
Exactly.
always
Even
a
if
good
you already have
prize.
a year, if you just bought it yesterday, it'll be a year and 3 months added on.
Right.
Well, 3
Right.
months added onto your account, even if you already have it.
So here
what's
is the question. So Darwin Kastle just won via top deck with Emrakul in his sneak and show list. Darwin Kastle, member of the Hall of Fame, the only member of the Hall of Fame that played today, though other Hall of Famer Rob Doherty joined in spectating earlier this weekend. The question is, in order to win 3 free months of Star City Games Premium, which Hall of Fame class was Darwin Kastle inaugurated in?
Ooh, okay.
Now, by way of example, a first-year class would be 2005, second year 2006,
Right.
third year 2007. Which class, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, which class was Hall of Famer Darwin Kastle inaugurated in? Answer at the hashtag SCG Premium.
Right.
And you could be one of the winners of 3 free months of Star City Games Premium.
The year he was inaugurated would also work.
Yeah, we would go with that too.
Yeah.
But yeah. Going back to the match at hand.
Looking at the sideboards, Reid Duke, his sideboard, Pithing Needles, Echoing Truths, Show and Tells, Tormod's Crypts, Perishes, Massacres, and a few more reanimation targets that we probably won't see.
Yeah, that reanimation targets. I mean, to be fair though, what happens if a Blazing Archon hits play?
Blazing Archon.
Blazing Archon would mean that Rodney Hannigan would be forced to Grim Lavamancer for victory.
Oh wow, I actually just assumed that Rodney had some sort of bounce spell in his sideboard. He has none.
No bounce spells.
He has Dismember. That doesn't kill the Archon.
I mean, I guess I kind of think that maybe Blazing Archon does come in, since it would actually shut down the entire, well, not the entire, a great portion of what Rodney Hannigan tries to do to win this match.
Right, the Delvers will still be 3/2s, but they'll be trumped by the 5/6 Blazing Archon. Dreadnoughts won't be able to attack at all.
Yeah, I think, honestly, Rodney is going to come out way ahead here. Rodney has access to Spell Pierce, which is actually a real card, access to Red Elemental Blast, which he can bring in if he wants to really overload, and access to Tormod's Crypt. That's just, wow. That is a lot.
It is. He can sideboard up to 9 cards if he wants to. Reid Duke does get Echoing Truth. That'll help fight the Dreadnoughts. He does get Show and Tell if he's worried about the Tormod scripts, of which there are only 3. Tormod's Crypt of his own, not going to do it. Perish, no. Massacre, no.
I mean, my prediction here, I think that Reid Duke is going to be twice shy here in this top 8. He made top 8 yesterday, or was that Matthew Costa?
That was Matt Kastle.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess he won't be twice shy this weekend. Okay, but I do think that Reid Duke is gonna be disappointed by how this match turns out.
Yeah, it really seems like it's stacked against him. Rodney Hannigan, awesome deck against the Reanimator. He would love to play against that all day, and the road deck is really just paying dividends here because Reid Duke has nothing in his sideboard against it. And I mean, really, who would? How do you have a sideboard against a Phyrexian Dreadnought Standstill deck? It's just not common. Rodney was probably the only one playing it in the tournament. So as the player's sideboard, we can look to see what they might be taking out. Rodney Hannigan, Spell Pierces, Red Blasts, Tormod's Crypts. I don't think it's unreasonable that he might take out some number of Phyrexian Dreadnoughts, actually. Seeing as how Reid Duke will be bringing in both Echoing Truth and Blazing Archons. That would also let him take out some number of Stifle effects, which aren't at their strongest against Reid Duke. Reid Duke really only has fetch lands, the Gristlebrand trigger, and that's about it. But if Gristlebrand is in play, Rodney Hannigan has bigger problems than just the trigger. The 7/7 lifelink is very strong. Rodney Hannigan, let's see, what else might he be taking out? The tops, maybe? Are those too slow in this matchup?
I don't think the tops are too slow. He can make the game slow down enough for the top to actually be meaningful.
Yeah, he has a ton of counter magic.
Yeah, I mean, to my mind, even if Grim Lavamancer shuts down, if a Blazing Archon comes out, it's still the weakest card in the matchup.
Right.
That's an easy 4. After that, I mean, I kind of like most of the other cards in the deck. Maybe Gitaxian Probe. I mean, again, that just cycles right on through, though.
Yeah, I don't think he'll be taking out Probe just because the knowledge of what Reid Duke is capable of.
The knowledge is so good.
Yeah. I was actually saying he might take out some number of Dreadnoughts plus Stifle effects. It is the core of his deck, but he knows that Reid Duke has Echoing Truth.
Well, one of the things that makes me feel otherwise is a lesson that we learned a little while ago when Natural Order Bant and No Bant were both kind of happening at the same time. A lot of players were thinking that No Bant would be the superior deck, but what kept happening is that Natural Order Bant would just force out a Progenitus, and it would just happen for one turn. They'd manage to get it through, and then the game would end. And I think it's a similar problem with the Dreadnought, where even if it's 2 cards to get that Dreadnought to happen, that's a lot of damage. A Dreadnought is huge.
Right, and one swing will pretty much limit Reid Duke's capacity to Gristlebrand or Reanimate. That said, though, it stinks to spend 2 cards and then get your Dreadnought Echoing Truth.
There is that.
So here we go. Reid Duke again, Flooded Strand into Underground Sea, and he'll be entombing. Will Rodney Hannigan fight over the entomb? Nope, it doesn't look like it. Reid picking up his deck, thumbing through. Now, I'm not sure if we'll see him get Gristlebrand or Blazing Archon here. Once Blazing Archon is in play, Rodney Hannigan...
I still like Gristlebrand, period.
Yeah, I think this early in the game he has to get a Gristlebrand. If it's turn 3, turn 4, that's another story. But being on the play, Gristlebrand it is.
Josh Hartwell wins 2-0 with a Gilded Drake to take the both off of the shelf.
Okay, your prediction has come true, Zach. Zach predicted 1 Sneak and Show and 1 Rug list would win in the 2 matchups of Rug versus Sneak and Show. And Darwin Kastle, the winner for Sneak and Show, and Josh Hartwell, the winner for Rug, basically on the back of Gilded Drake.
Yeah, basically what happened was Andrew Kavanaugh played Show and Tell. He put in Emrakul. Josh Hartwell put in Gilded Drake. That's my Emrakul.
Yeah,
my
bing,
turn.
bang, boom.
So Rodney Hannigan, Scalding Tarn into Volcanic Island. And we'll see what he has for turn 1. He would love to start out with something like a Delver of Secrets here to start the pressure on Reid Duke, but as early as turn 1, he might not be able to afford to tap out. depending on which counter magic he has.
And that's one of the things about Reanimator. Reanimator can actually put forth the hugest of threats on turn 2.
Right. All right, finish shuffling up, and he just says go. Not wanting to just virtually die on turn 2. Because like we said, the longer this game goes for him, the better off he is.
Are we going to see a check?
Wow.
Got the counter magic.
So reanimate for Reid Duke.
Now remember, Reid Duke is playing cards like Daze. So this Spell Pierce could very easily just be dazed, not to mention Force of Willed.
Yep, there's that daze. So this is Reid Duke's perfect opening. Entomb into reanimate plus daze.
Oh boy, here's the stack. Force of Will. Does Reid have a second Daze? Does he have a Spell Pierce?
No spell
Nope.
pierces.
Does he have
So Force of Will
Wow,
resolves, and
there we
Reid
go.
just says go. No second reanimate, no Force of Will. Rodney, though, not many cards in hand now.
Standstill? Boom, Mishra's Factory Standstill.
That's a powerful threat. Now we'll see if Reid Duke can exhume here. Oh, here we go. 2 mana. Exhume. Do you have it?
Draw 3. Cards that he can get here. Force of Will or his own Daze.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
Nothing.
Oh, Doctor.
Gristlebrand into play. Now, if I'm Reid Duke, I use that ability right now. So it can't get stifled.
That's fair. What
There-
if you're Nick Spagnuolo? What do you do?
Oh, probably stack boxes in the background.
Oh.
So Reid Duke drops to 5. Full grip, though. He'll enter his discard phase. And now if Reid Duke found a Force of Will or a Daze, this game is going to be really tough for Rodney.
I mean, it's going to be...
Yeah.
I think it's over already.
It's going to be really tough.
Yeah,
anyway for
I think it's
Rodney.
absolutely already over.
Well, if Rodney can get a Phyrexian Dreadnought into play, that can block.
I just
Oh, wait,
don't
no,
think Gristlebrand has flying and
Of
lifelink.
course.
But besides that, even if he were to be able to somehow manage to do anything meaningful, remember Reid Duke has effectively Necropotence
Right.
in play,
Right.
and so it's just going to be hard to keep up with that.
Yep, we'll see what Rodney can pull off here. This is a main phase brainstorm.
A lot of players in the Legacy community have talked about since we have Gristlebrand legal, Gristlebrand legal. Maybe we should bring back Bargain. After thinking about it a little bit, though, I don't think that that's actually necessarily a good argument. The idea that Gristlebrand can be stopped in so many different ways, whether it's attacking the reanimation, or whether it's discarding the, or pardon me, not discarding, stopping the show and tell. It's still. Oh, Reid's at 12 here.
Right, he exhumed, not reanimated.
Yeah.
My fault.
There are just so many ritual effects that having a Bargain be around just seems too good.
Right.
Sensei's Divining Top. I think if I'm Reid Duke, I say that's fine.
Oh, yeah.
Here you go. Have a
His rank
top.
top, not a big deal. The thing is, though, yeah, there are a lot of ritual effects around, and 6 mana equals Bargain, but doesn't 7 mana just equal Charbelcher?
Right?
Yeah. Not quite the same, since you can't play any lands or 1 land in your Charbelcher deck. But I don't think Bargain, off the top of my head, I don't think it will just break Legacy. Though I'm sure a lot of people on Twitter will jump at the chance to argue that point.
I do know that when Bargain was printed, it definitely is a card that I felt was pretty obscene.
Well, you were right.
Well, I mean, it kind of combined the things that I had done in Rome at Pro Tour with Necropotence combined with Final Fortune, where you'd Necro for, say, 16 and then cast Final Fortune to untap and kill them. And then do it all in one card.
Right.
You just had to have a little more mana to get it going.
So the life totals just reverse themselves off the Gristlebrand attack. Rodney Hannigan 12, Reid Duke up to 19. And here's an Entomb. He's going to go off again.
Maybe he'll get a second Gristlebrand and he'll learn the legend rule the hard way. But wait, I do not believe Reid Duke will do this.
Nope, he won't fall for that. And Reid Duke holding the Gristlebrand out for Rodney to read.
Now, there's a Blazing Archon now in Reid Duke's yard. So we do see that Archon. He's not boarded out the one, and maybe he boarded in another.
And another Exhume from Reid Duke, trying to get that Archon into play, trying to lock this one up even further. He knows that Rodney Hannigan has no real way to get rid of multiple creatures at once, or, for that matter, get rid of even one creature easily. So daze from both players, trying to fight over this Exhume. Another daze from Rodney. And if I'm Reid Duke,
I just don't care.
I don't really mind.
Yeah.
You know, your opponent has one Mishra's Factory and one Sensei's Divining Top in play, and that's it.
For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan here with Zach Hall. We're here in Worcester, Massachusetts for the Star City Games Live Open Series. Day 1 is already in the books, and a very, very happy Esper Control player took that down. One of these two players, Rodney Hannigan and Reid Duke, are going to move on to our semifinals, and they're hoping to repeat the feat that the Esper Control player took earlier today in Standard, but here in Legacy.
Right. So here it is. Here's the Dreadnought. It's on the stack. Now Reid Duke will say, okay, he'll let Rodney try and stifle that. We'll see if he has a force. Yep, Reid does not mind. He's going to go up to 19 from this attack.
It's really hard to erase that lifelink.
Right. Reid Duke doesn't even need to draw any more cards here. He'll be at 19 life, and even with the Dreadnought swing, he'll go to 7, which is plenty out of double Lightning Bolt range, even if Rodney had a red source.
Brainstorm from Reid Duke.
For a little redundant card drawing here. He's trying to find another Exhume and lock it up with an Archon. We'll try and get an update for you from that last match, the Costa Smiley match.
We're still waiting. Thomas Smiley with no Bant, or if you want to make those negatives double up and go away, Bant. And Matthew Costa with Rug Delver.
So now Reid will shuffle his library with this Ponder, reset the Brainstorm.
All of these players getting at least $300, but hoping to get $2,400.
Right. Rodney Hannigan cuts his opponent's deck. Reid Duke trying to find a Force of Will, or a discard spell here, just to make sure that he wins. And here comes the Gristlebrand. Life totals 3 to 19. Rodney untaps with only an island, a Mishra's Factory, a Sensei's Top, and a Dreadnought. You know, Phyrexian Dreadnought, that was one of the cards that I fell in love with when I first started playing Magic. I tried to make a deck, Pandemonium Phyrexian Dreadnought.
We are in Game 3. We'll go back to that in a second. Game 3, Costa versus Smiley. Costa down to 6 cards. And this game is over.
Yeah.
We're going to Game 3 here as well. So Reid Duke making it 1-1, and Costa and Smiley 1-1. Costa down a card in the game off camera. You were saying, though, about Panda's Knots.
Oh, yeah. That was back, of course, before the Dreadnought was errated. And, well, nowadays, well, back then, it worked as it does now. But there was a few years there, probably 5 or 6 years, when it didn't even come into play. It was as an additional cost. Sort of like how they flip-flopped on the errata of Time Vault. So here, Rodney Hannigan on the left, Reid Duke on the right. They're going to Game 3.
I don't remember who said it. Was it, you said Julian?
Julian Boer.
Yeah, Julian Booher saying that he thought that Rodney looked like Todd Anderson.
Yep.
And Callie Anderson shaking her head and frowning at that. Reid Duke looking very much like Reid Duke.
Doing what Reid Duke does. Hand on the head, intently staring at this deck list here. He's looking at his opponent's sideboard, trying to figure out what changes he made. Reid didn't really glean any information there because Romney didn't play a Lightning Bolt, didn't play a Crypt, Red Blast, Spell Pierce, or Dismember, so he saw 0 sideboard cards. Reid left in the dark.
A note from Zvi Mauschwitz. Zvi overheard, I guess, me talking about Bargain, and he's saying that if we unban Bargain, that you don't let that happen. He's basically,
Yeah.
I'll just quote him. I do appreciate you guys trying to get me to come to an SCG Open, but seriously, friends don't let friends bargain.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Now Zvi, definitely somebody that loves himself a Yawgmoth's bargain. If it was legal, we might see him, but he, I think, does not want that to happen to Magic.
I think the clever players nowadays, they'd find a way to hate it out. Wink, wink.
You know, they said that about Divining Witch in 5-color.
I'm not even going to answer that because I don't know how. I did not play that format.
It's funny because there are some of the buyers here who are shaking their heads like, oh yeah, that was a mistake.
Relevant to 3% of the audience.
Hey.
Abe Sargent, where are you?
That was a nice call out. Wow.
Yeah.
That'd be cool if he was watching.
I am Nostradamus, remember? You called that one earlier in the weekend, too.
It's true. It's true.
You called Esper Delver, you
Yep.
called me Nostradamus, and you called Sneak and Show winning this tournament.
It's true. Let's see. I think what won in the last event in Columbus?
Great question. Let me
Yeah.
look it up.
While Zach looks that up for you, I know that for the last couple of weeks, I have basically felt that Esper was Mud. Mud is the winner last week. That's kind of a surprise to me. We almost saw Mud here in the top 8 as well.
Yeah, Greg Girard, or rather Giard, the only player in the top 8 going into the last round who didn't make it. He had to play it out, and he lost.
Are we sure it's Mud? I see it listed as Rug
yeah,
Delver.
I didn't think it was. Rug Delver. Mud came in second.
Okay, Mud was second. Rug Delver was the winner.
Eric Rill versus Eric Fry. That was the finals.
There were 2 Erics. I mean, it is possible there was a clerical error on that. Or it could be our director is saying that he is crazy and we should not listen to him. Okay. Thank you, Director. Director Jesse. Also, he's been working on Stormcrow combo for a long time, so if you see him at the next Star City Games Open Series, Stormcrow could be the legacy deck he might be playing. I don't know what that actually means, but...
Well, I mean, I think if you unban Bargain, you have to ban Stormcrow.
That's true.
The
That's
two of
true.
those in the same deck would tear it apart.
Is I want to say Nathan Holt?
That's the one.
Is he part of the ban Hovermere crew?
Oh, well, let's not even get into Harem. You're strictly better than Stormcrow. But a lot of people do want to see that card banned come June 20th.
Hovermere?
Yeah.
I don't
They
know.
think that's going to fix Standard.
You know, wouldn't it be funny if that kind of butterflies' wings flapping did have that effect?
We'll see. It would be a great joke by R&D to actually ban it, though.
Oh, I don't like those kinds of jokes.
No.
No. No.
Then a 12-year-old gets DQ'd as local FN.
Well, no,
for
it's
playing
more like
Hovermere.
I want to believe that Wizards is taking the game seriously. I believe they are, but if they were to ban Hovermere as a joke, I would definitely lose some of my my faith in them. Thankfully, I don't think that's going to be something to worry about. Rodney starts out game 3 here, fetching up an island. Interesting that he chooses to fetch up an island here. I don't see any particular benefit to getting an island over any other land in his deck, seeing as Reid Duke has no wasteland effects. And I don't think he has a Terastodon either.
Yeah, pretty strange. That said, though, after board, Rodney Hannigan might not have any red cards. Now, I would think he'd side in the Red Blast, but he might have decided that he didn't have anything to cut. Still, though, letting Reid Duke know that doesn't seem like it has any advantage. And right now, we're on a judge call. We'll find out what that's about for you in just a second.
For those of you who are just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan. I'm in the booth with Zach Hall. We are in the final game of this quarterfinal match between Rodney Hannigan playing Dreadstill and Reid Duke playing Reanimator. In a lot of people's minds, Reid Duke is probably the favorite here. Reid Duke's deck is extremely explosive, and Reid Duke has already done quite a bit to make a name for himself in Magic play the last couple of years. Rodney Hannigan, on the other hand, has a deck that has quite a bit of permission that enables him to fight that early reanimation, and then also has access to Sensei's Divining Top and Standstill that he can play profitably to try to make a longer game go his way as well.
Right. And the pressure is definitely on Reid Duke this game. He's on the draw. He's not favored in a longer game. He has to get a Gristlebrand or a Blazing Archon into play ASAP. And it looks like they're finished with the judge call.
Yeah, if Reid Duke has his way, this game will be effectively over on turn 2 or 3 as it was last game. Oh, look at this opener, Delver. Delver is one of the best things Rodney can do in the early game, just because he can put the clock down and then try to shift into an aggro control role, fast clock plus protection.
Right. Now, he couldn't tap out for a turn 1 Delver last game because Reid Duke was threatening the turn 2 reanimation, but being on the play makes all the difference. He can safely tap out. There's no way Reid Duke can turn 1 combo him.
I'm going to say this last name wrong. Derek Eagler from Twitter, @Derek is telling us he'll let Abe know that we talked about him, and he's going to try to get him to go to our Star City Games in Detroit not so long from now.
Good.
I'll be seeing you there in Detroit, so...
So Island for Reid Duke off a Flooded Strand, and he'll pass the turn. Delver will not flip. That was a Standstill. Playing Standstill here, though.
Standstill here is actually incredible. Reid Duke, without any black sources, can't threaten to do, versus a tapped-out Rodney, a end-of-turn Entomb and then go for it versus a tapped-out opponent on the next turn. Instead, he'll just have to wait a full extra turn, in which case Rodney will have the opportunity to untap, and suddenly all kinds of cards come into the mix.
Right. Now, okay, so we just got a little news that the judge call was about Rodney not shuffling enough. The judge thought that he insufficiently randomized.
We've heard this call has been made several times in the day
Yep.
by the judges, so they're just keeping their eyes open.
Exactly. Now, I'm not sure how many lands Reid Duke has or how valuable that land is to him, but this might just be a rare misplay from him because now Rodney Hannigan can just be free to tap out for Standstill. Like you said, he doesn't have to worry about Entomb and Zoom. He doesn't have to worry about Entomb Reanimate here. Reid Duke was afraid of Stifle. And it really just depends on his hand.
I like Reid Duke's play for the most part. One of the things about it is if he's... This seems like it's I'm a low on land play. If he lets his land get stifled there, he could just never get into this game.
Right. Now, if he only has 1 or 2 land, that's another story.
Oh, I do not like that, Rodney Hannigan.
Another Delver. But Rodney is free to tap out because Reid cannot reanimate next turn.
And a top.
So Reid Duke, end of turn, will cast a Brainstorm. Desperately needs to find his combo. The only way Reid will combo out this turn is Careful Study into Reanimate. And he'll have to have exactly 1 Careful Study, exactly 1 Reanimate. No other spells will do it except save 1 Hapless Researcher. Rodney, though, not afraid, taps out for 2 spells.
Again, I can imagine AJ Soccer at home cringing at this Brainstorm, but there are times you do suboptimal plays because of the constraints of mana. This means that Reid will only be able to theoretically bury 1 card with that Brainstorm, but he only has a short window here before things get really bad with that Sensei's Divining Top. And if he can actually just get something into play right now, then so much the better. Oh.
Discard phase for Reid Duke. Now, this doesn't mean that he's out of land. This might be his only discard outlet, the actual discard phase. We'll see next turn.
It's still a depressing prospect for Reid Duke.
Right. Rodney Hannigan upkeep activates his top. He's going to try and ensure that those Delvers flip. And I see multiple instances there. They will flip. There's a probe. Insectile aberrations activated.
Oh man, this is now a 3-turn clock.
Yeah. He's going to drop Reid Duke to 12. And if Reid Duke reanimates that Sphinx, he's going to be at 4. Albeit with a lifelinker in play.
It'd be an okay situation to be in at that point, honestly.
Yeah.
But that would mean he wouldn't be able to cast a Force of Will. Actually, never mind. With the new lifelink rules, he would be able to cast a Force of Will in order to get the Sphinx out.
The Steel Wind also first strikes.
Here we... Oh, it does it? Wow. Gosh, I thought I had all of the abilities, and it still has one more.
Yeah, it's so many.
We see in the hand, Reanimate, Exhume, Daze, Ponder, Force of Will, and 2 land. Costa wins versus Thomas Smiley, the Rug Delver player, taking out No Bant. Costa advancing to face Hartwell for a Rug mirror, which might be a mirror or a repeat of a match we saw earlier with those two. I think in round 6.
Right now, Rodney Hannigan writing down Reid Duke's hand. Sees Force of Will, Ponder, Daze, Reanimate, Exhume. So Reid Duke does have plenty of land. His only discard outlet, though, was the natural discard phase. And now Rodney Hannigan reading that Steel Wind, that's a real problem for him. He has no bounce spells. He has protection from red. There's not much that can be done about it. The only thing that Rodney can do is dismember it, and it's really unlikely that he sided that card in. He has to win the counter war over the Reanimate or Exhume.
Okay, that is indeed in the other bracket where it's going to be Matthew Costa versus Josh Hartwell. That is a rematch from their round 6 match, and that was taken down by Hartwell, though we basically agreed that Hartwell had a matchup disadvantage. It just went the wrong way for Costa.
Right.
I'm going to predict that Costa is going to win this one versus Hartwell and be in the finals.
Yeah, I definitely think Costa has a bit of an edge.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see how it plays out, though. Rodney Hannigan brainstorming, trying to find an answer here. He desperately needs to find a way to counter the Exhume. Sphinx of the Steel Wind will just take over the game otherwise. And Reid Duke might not be prepared for this this Delver Dreadnought deck, but Rodney Hannigan equally unprepared for Reid Duke. He only has 3 Tormod scripts.
And here we see a Mishra's Factory,
Yep.
very slyly put down. Does that actually put him over the edge? Nope, the first strike again.
So Rodney Hannigan does not find a Tormod script.
Yikes.
That's not good for him, and it's now Reid Duke has free reign versus a tapped out opponent with Force of Will and Daze in his hand. So here it is.
Reanimate.
And Rodney Hannigan, even if he has a Force of Will, he knows Reid Duke will just force right back.
Rodney Hannigan is trying to find an answer here to this problem.
Checking the life total, checking what cards Reid Duke has in his hand. He knows his top 2. He can top to find cards 3 down. Maybe there's a Force of Will in there.
I think you have to.
Yeah, I don't see any other choice for Rodney.
As long if you have the hands roughly correct, I think that he has to. Okay, there's the first.
Okay.
And that's going to pull the response from Reid. Rodney dropping to 16 life.
Yep. Reid about to drop to 11 from his own force of will. Reid trying to decide what to remove to that force.
If you're just joining us, I'm Adrian Sullivan. I'm in the booth with Zach Hall. We're seeing a critical moment in this quarterfinal game between Reid Duke and Rodney Hannigan. The winner of this game will move on to play against Darwin Kastle, Hall of Famer. And the subject of this round's trivia question.
Yep, if you missed it, you still have a minute or two to get that answer in. What class was Darwin Kastle inaugurated to the Hall of Fame? Use the hashtag SCG Premium. So Rodney Hannigan, force of will still on the stack, will activate Sensei's top. Even if he does find a force, though, Reid Duke still with that daze in hand. And that resolves. Reid Duke drops to 3, but 6/6 Sphinx in play. First strike, lifelink, vigilance, pro-green, pro-red.
Looking at the decks, I think there is actually literally nothing that Rodney can do to get out of that doesn't involve Dreadnought Stifle in the next, I think, turn.
Yeah, you know, the only thing he'd be able to do was if he sided in Dismember, which seems super unlikely.
What is the...
The Dismember would shrink it to 1/1 and then it would die in combat there. Alternatively, he can find a Mountain and a Lightning Bolt. But seeing as he exhausted all his resources with the Force of Will on the top, that doesn't seem too likely. Reid Duke finishing up his turn with a Ponder here. Trying to find an extra daze, maybe an extra Force of Will.
So many cards that... Sorry, so many powers that the Sphinx has. It's just really problematic.
Yeah. So Reid shuffling his deck off that Ponder. He'll try and randomly draw into a Force of Will here. That's undoubtedly what he's looking for. That or a daze.
Okay. It's funny because at that low of a life total, there is this little window where Lightning Bolt is also a card, but unfortunately for Rodney, no red sources and not much of a good reason to have Lightning Bolt in the deck still after this point in the game.
Right. It doesn't seem like he'll have Dismember or Bolt or Grimlavamancer.
Rodney Hannigan and Raoul Duke.
It fits so
Reid
well,
Duke.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
So Rodney Hannigan spins the top.
I almost said it again. Too good. Spin, spin, spin.
Trying to find an answer to the Sphinx.
And Reid, just like, what you got?
Hands on head, Reid Duke posture. Do you have it? Do you have it? Don't slow roll me, he says. Do you have it? And puts the 3 back with the top.
I mean, he could do a look over there and then see if the attack gets through.
You never know. Reid could click through his blocker step.
Oh no, I lagged and then pushed the F2 at the... Oh god. And go. See the vigilance?
Swing.
Things aren't getting any better next turn, kids.
Reid Duke up to 9, Rodney down to 10.
We have been giving you magic at this point now for roughly 36 hours.
Yeah, there were maybe 4 or 5 hours of sleep in between there somewhere.
There were 4 or 5 hours of sleep, sure, but
Reid-
brainstorm from Reid Duke.
Yep, this is during his second main here. Wants to cast all his spells during his own turn. Doesn't want to be taken by surprise by anything that Rodney might have. Wants to make sure this game is locked up. Probably racking his brain, seeing what answer Rodney might have to the Sphinx, trying to think of anything he might be able to do.
And we see the activation of the top at the end of the turn.
And there's the Tormod's Crypt.
A little late to the party.
Yep.
After the draw, we see, I think we're going to see the activation of the top to bury the top. If so, that's not actually what happened. I think he was thinking about doing that, but that's not what ended up happening here.
Nope.
Reid Duke at 9 life. This is the last turn that it'll matter if a Dreadnought comes into play, and he doesn't find it.
There's the handshake. Reid Duke advances to the semifinals in a matchup we thought was not very good.
I mean, it can be a not very good matchup, and perhaps that analysis was off, but it can be a not very good matchup, and it can still go the other way.
Right. Easily.